next week in Malta. It's part 2 of the 65th anniversary celebrations for the world's oldest Manchester United supporters club. And today, I'm very pleased to say I'm joined by my dear friend Joseph Tedesco, President of the Manchester United Supporters Club of Malta. Joseph, how are you and how are preparations going for the big event?
Hi, John. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak about these events coming up. Obviously, it's something which we like to do over here in Malta. Most of the people listening to this quick interview know and who have been to Malta know how we prepare ourselves for these kind of events. It's been obviously busy. A lot of things to prepare because it's not just one event, but it's a series of events. A lot of people coming over, a lot of guests, and also a lot of friends who are traveling from various countries around Europe to come to Malta next week to celebrate this milestone with us.
What's hugely impressive, Joseph, is the amazing pulling power of the Malta Supporters Club. You've got a fabulous lineup of ex-players. I know they're not all going to play in the match, which I think is the highlight of your activities next week. But how many are attending, and who are the guys maybe who are coming for the first time who haven't been there for quite a long time?
Yes, we have quite a good lineup for the game because there is basically the three main events are we have meet and greet and Q&A at the supporters club on the Wednesday 12th June. Then the next day on the Thursday the 13th there is a football game between the Manchester Reds, that's the name of the team, against a local team of Maltese veterans who used to play for the Maltese national team. So it's going to be quite a competitive match because I know these Maltese veterans take it very seriously. They play in tournaments around the world, basically, and they are very organized, and they're very much looking forward to this game. And when we told them the names that we have on our lineup, like Jaap, Stam, and Ronny Johnson, the central duo partnership of the treble winning season, together with David May and Lee Sharp, who also are quite popular with the supporters. Just to mention the rest of the team, we have Danny Simpson, Phil Bardsley, Danny Webber, Chris Eagles, Keith Gillespie, Chris Casper, Luke Chadwick, Lee Martin, Russell Beardsmore, Ben Thornley, and Nick Culkin, and last and not least, Bojan Djordjic. So for me, I think it's quite a good lineup because there are some players who are still at a young age. So I believe this game is going to be as competitive as the one we had in 2018 when we had opened our 60th anniversary celebrations. You were here, John. It was another great event. That one, the stadium was full up with people, and we're very positive that the same amount of people will be turning up for the game on Thursday. Then we move to our sister island, Gozo. On Saturday, we're going to have the grand finale. We're going to have a nice big grand dinner, we're calling it. It's not gala because gala might give the wrong impression about the dress code. So it's a grand dinner. And for that grand dinner, we're also going to have other Man United legends from previous decades. We're going to have Lou Macari, Martin Beckin, Steve Coppell, and Sammy McElroy. So this lineup in total, there's going to be 20 ex-players who will be joined also by other personalities who are going to be essential ingredients in all these events that we're organizing. We're going to have the voice of Old Trafford, Ellen Keegan, who will be doing the job he does at Old Trafford, but this time at the Centenary Stadium in Taali. So that's going to be a first. Together with Paul Anthony, they're going to be master of ceremonies of the game and of the dinner. We're going to have Stuart Gardner, who was also a good friend. He'll be doing some interviews during these few days, interviewing people, so that we can capture the sentiments of all these people being here. We're going to have Jason Leach, a good friend of ours, very nice presenter, good presenter who will be presenting a few events as well. And last and not least, we're going to have our very, very good friend Andy Mitten, who is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best journalists Man United have ever had, at least since I've been following them, especially with reading on social media, and everything is so good with the players. So that's going to be very interesting, because the Q&A at the supporters club is going to be led by Andy, and that's going to be a nice evening for those who's going to be present. One other thing, which, as you said, we have a lot of friends who will honor us with their presence in Malta next week. We are proud to say that there are going to be nearly 90 people who is going to make a trip from different countries. We've got people from Helsinki coming, we have people from Austria coming, and we have obviously people from all over the UK. That's going to be quite fantastic. You know, we have people from Holland coming as well. So we're really looking forward to welcome this, I would say, contingent of approximately 130 people in total, between foreigners and guests. Obviously, they will be joined by a big number of local supporters who will be attending these events. And everything is promising to be another great week for Manchester United Supporters Club of Malta.
Joseph, you're absolutely fantastic at giving everybody a name check, and your memory is superb. And the thing I remember is 5 years ago, you talk about that match, it was very competitive, and I remember how much it meant to the Maltese guys too. They got a last-minute winner. It was quite dramatic the way the game ended. So if anybody's in any doubt about how competitive the match is going to be, we've got some, as you mentioned there, we've got treble winners. We've got the Maltese guys who are going to be desperate to claim another scalp against the former Manchester United players. So I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely fabulous game. So how do people get tickets to go and watch the game?
Tickets can be bought easily online from the Malta Football Association website. The URL is tickets.mfa.com.mt. Simple, tickets.mfa.com.mt. Pick up the MUSC Malta Cup game, because we're going to have a cup. So there is going to be a winner. Okay, we have agreed that if the game finishes on a draw, there's going to be a penalty shootout. Okay, so in one way or another, there is going to be a winner. Actually, this is okay. There's going to be competitiveness, and it's natural for these players, you know, who played at this level. But the end of the day, it's going to be fun. We're going to have some kids coming from the Special Olympics in Malta, and others coming from frame football, who are going to join in on the pitch with the players for some time, you know, to give them this experience with people like Jaap, Stam and Ronny Johnson and Lee Sharp, you know, and all the other players, giving them this experience to kick a ball with them, you know. So that's going to be also a touching moment as well. There's also going to be an event in Valletta on the Thursday morning. It's also going to be fun. I'm pretty sure most of the people listening to this will remember the pictures of our big 70 feet by 70 feet Manchester United flag laid down next to the Tritone fountains at the entrance of Valletta. We're going to repeat that. And there's going to be an event organized by Visit Malta. Few surprises, so we're going to leave it there. But basically, John, this is a jam-packed 4 days, which is going to be not just football, not just socializing and meeting around and meet and greet, but we have also included cultural trips for these people coming from abroad. There are quite a group of people going to the Valletta guided tour. And on the Sunday morning, the day after the dinner, those who are going to sleep in Gozo, they're going to go for the Gozo guided tour. So there is element of culture, there is element of sports, there is element of celebration, history about the island, you know, because we have such a rich history as an island. Um, it's gonna be fun.
It's going to be fabulous. When you say jam-packed, I know it's going to be jam-packed because you organise things with military precision, and I know from previous experience you don't waste any time. You make sure that we use every single minute, and it is absolutely fascinating to see how you do it whenever you do events, even when you do stuff at the supporters club. I remember watching the match when I was there in February, and you think, oh, we're going to have a rest for half time, and all of a sudden something else rolls out, and something else rolls out. It's wall to wall events and activities, and you don't waste any time. And it's fabulous to see how the relationship has grown over the years between Manchester United Football Club and the Man United Supporters Club in Malta. And I think anybody who came to the celebrations 5 years ago, the 60th anniversary, it's a highlight that people still talk about. They will always talk about it. And I'm sure, don't have any doubt at all that this is going to be on a par with that. And I know that anybody who comes from anywhere, from any part of the world, who comes to Malta for these celebrations, it's going to be something, it's going to be a once in a lifetime experience that people will never forget. And it's fantastic to see the lineup that you've drawn up, like Andy Mitten and the presenters and people like Stuart Gardner and voice of Old Trafford, Alan Keegan. And it's great to see 20 players. And I know they're not all going to play in the match because some of them are getting on a little bit, but they'll all be available for getting pictures and to meet the fans. And it is great to see our former players, how they interact with supporters. And as you know, I just got back from New York and Toronto with Jaap Stam, and he's really great with the fans. And I think he'll really, really enjoy Malta. I know he's looking forward to it immensely, and he and his wife were both talking about coming to Malta. So I know that they're going to be big fans as well once they've been to Malta of your supports club. One thing I'd like to mention before we wrap up is that this is obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning, part 2 of the 60th anniversary celebrations. I'd just like to remind people, if you can do it for me, the things that we did when I came over in February, because you had another action-packed, jam-packed schedule when we came at the beginning of February. So remind us about the things that we did then.
Yes, John, when you mentioned military precision and all these events, I have to mention this, but this is because the Manchester United Supporters Club Malta have a very, very well organized committee, people who literally are so dedicated to the cause, and they give their utmost. You know them all because you've been here with us for so many years and you've covered all our events. And it's good to mention here also that we are preparing for the sequel of the 60th anniversary production, which you had made, thanks to all the filming that we've made, not just this year, but over the past 4 years since we had the 60th. Yes, in fact, this season we had a whole season of events like we had for the 60th. We organized some local events. We organized a quiz. We organized a tattoo competition. They were part of the whole program. Then we had this nice presentation, pitch side presentation in January when we came over for the Tottenham game by the club. They recognized the anniversary like they do with all the branches. And then that was when we started the 4-part series podcast we have done, thanks to you, John, with what I call a legendary supporter, Joe Glenville. Many people know him as Sir Joe. He's a person who every Man United fan in the world would dream to have lived the life he's lived as a Man United supporter. Had the connections he had, the stories he has. They're all available now in this podcast, thanks to you, which people obviously can listen. And after the podcast, then we had this fabulous weekend in Malta, which was actually the anniversary weekend. Our anniversary date is 4th February, which is exactly 2 days before the anniversary of Munich. And that weekend, we actually did, for the first time ever, a Munich exhibition organized by the staff that Joe Glanville has. And it was a team effort, huge team effort. A lot of people worked really hard in very tight time frames to have that exhibition on. We had over the podcast team from MUTV, Sam Homewood, Helen Evans, David May, and we had Mike Phelan, who is a big personality at Man United, ex-player, ex-coach, ex-manager. So he's been it was like he's been to Malta in 1991, so he came back like so many years after, nearly 25 years later. But he was great. It was a great experience. We had this live uh, podcast with audience, which was a first for MUTV and the first for us as well. So it was a great event. We had a tree planting event where we planted 65 trees in a beautiful place in the south of Malta. I can confirm that the trees are there, still there, growing. I went to check them coincidentally last week. Everything is in place. So hopefully we'll see these trees going, and we will have like a memento there in the south of Malta, which remembers that weekend. Then we had our service, which we do every year, where we commemorate the tragedy with a mass. During that mass, we also launched a virtual tour of the supporters club, which everyone can see on our website, manutd-malta.com. It's basically a tour which takes you through our supporters club, and you can go on the hotspots and see all the interesting videos that we have linked to this virtual tour. And we also launched the Man United Supporters Club Malta anthem for the first time ever as well. So we had a few firsts that weekend. It was nice. It coincided as well with United winning 3-0, and with that famous picture of Maino, Garnacho and Højlund all together on the digiboards. And when you counted the numbers on their shirts, it was 37, 17, and 11. And thanks to our friend Lisa Isim, she phoned me in the evening telling me, um, did you notice that when you count the numbers, it's 65. So there was 65 when you counted those shirt numbers on the anniversary date of our 65th anniversary. It was an amazing coincidence. So it was a brilliant weekend. This is going to be part two, longer, much more activities in this one, much more people. But I'm sure that everyone who's going to come over is going to have, as you said, John, we try to make it not just a trip for a dinner, but we try to make it an experience. That's our objective. That people coming here takes the experience, receive our hospitality, and we're thinking about everything. We're thinking because we have a dinner on a separate island, so we're thinking about the transport. We're organizing the transport from one island to the other and back to the hotels. It's quite interesting, to be honest. It's hard work, yes, but it's interesting, and I'm really looking forward that everyone who will come here will have a big experience, which like they did with the 60, they keep speaking about it, they keep posting about it, and it's nice, to see that when we get our friends over here, we give them the right treatment that they truly deserve.
Absolutely fantastic. You've gone into so much detail there, Joseph, that don't have any more questions. You've answered them all in one fell swoop. But I think just anybody who's listening to your answer there will understand the detail and the what a great team effort it is by you and your committee to organise all these events. And I know that I can guarantee that anybody who comes is going to be a visit of a lifetime. We seem to have had more than one visit in one lifetime, but that's the beauty of going to Malta. You seem to spoil us every time we go there, and I just can't get enough of the place. As you know, I'm half Maltese, so I've got a vested interest, and you can't get rid of me. And maybe one day I'll come and retire there if they'll have me, because I'm getting on a bit now. But I think if anybody's got any more things,
that in 5 years' time we're going to have our 70th anniversary,
yeah. Well, the thing is, in 5 years' time, it'll be my 70th year, because I'm 65. Like, I was born in 1959, and 65 is a magic number. And that story that you told, that when Lisa Easom reminded you or pointed out the fact that all the numbers added to 65, it's almost impossible to believe it. I told a few people that story, including people at Match of the Day when I work at BBC Match of the Day, and nobody heard it before. And it is quite staggering how that happened at that weekend on the 65th anniversary, and the numbers added up to 65. It's an iconic moment in the history of the football club and the history of the world's oldest Manchester United supporters club. And I think if anybody has got anything else they'd like to know about your supporters club, I do encourage them to watch the four-part podcast which we filmed with Joe Glanville, because that's something that I know you personally and your committee put a lot of effort into organising, and I spent a lot of time editing it into the wee small hours in this room here, and it's something I'm really proud of. And I think any Manchester United fan in any country, if they watch that, they will really understand why Joe Glanville, Sir Joe as we call him, is such an important man in the history of our football club. He's a fan, but he's more than a fan, and for me, he's part of the very fabric of Manchester United Football Club, and he represents your supporters club in the most unique way, and he's such a lovely man to spend time with. I'm looking forward to spending time with you and Joe, all the Joes. A lot of people in Malta are called Joe. Joe's very much the most popular name in Malta, but you go into a room and you say Joe and everybody looks around. Not quite everybody, but it's a little bit like that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to, particularly looking forward to the whole experience. But I think just a final reminder that if anybody who's going to be lucky enough to be in Malta for those days from the 12th to the 16th of June, the match is on the Thursday. That's the 13th of June. There's a whole programme of events starting on the Wednesday. And there's a dinner with the former players, the grand dinner at the Grand Hotel in Gozo on the Saturday. Thank you, Joe. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I know you've got to be somewhere else because your schedule is very busy, and I know you've got somewhere else to rush off to. So thank you for spending time. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, John, and I look forward to see you at the airport.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.